Russian President Vladimir Putin described the ongoing events in the south of the country as a stab in the back and a betrayal that warrants severe punishment. In a televised address to the nation on Saturday, Putin emphasized that all appropriate orders and directives had been given to leaders and soldiers in a timely manner. This comes after statements and decisions from the leader and founder of the Wagner Group, a Russian mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who accused the army's leadership of launching missile attacks on his forces in Ukraine. Wagner claimed control over the city of Rostov on Don, near the Ukrainian border, and later stated that they had also taken control of the city of Voronezh on the road connecting Rostov and the capital, Moscow. British intelligence agencies had indicated that Wagner soldiers were moving from the southern city of Voronezh towards the capital, Moscow, since Saturday morning when they captured it. Although Putin did not explicitly mention Prigozhin by name in his address, he pledged to punish all those behind the armed rebellion. He acknowledged the difficult security situation in Rostov-on-Don after Wagner elements took control of it. Prigozhin had sharply criticized the Russian army's leadership on Friday, accusing them of launching a deadly missile attack on his forces in Ukraine. Following the Russian authorities' announcement of an investigation into Prigozhin, he vowed to continue until the end and destroy anything that stands in his way, affirming that his forces had entered Russian territory. In an audio message posted on the social media platform Telegram, Prigozhin stated, "The evil carried by the Russian military leadership must stop." He added, "Those who killed our children and tens of thousands of Russian soldiers, in the war in Ukraine, will be punished." He further stated, "I ask you not to resist. Anyone who does so will be considered a threat to us and will be destroyed. This applies to any checkpoints and flights on our way." He clarified, "This is not a military coup but a march towards justice. Our actions do not affect Russian forces in any way." The Russian Ministry of Defense, in a statement, said that all the reports published by Prigozhin on social media about Russian strikes on Wagner camps were false and provocative. In a Saturday audio post on Telegram, Prigozhin confirmed that all Wagner forces, exceeding 25,000 individuals, are ready to die, to achieve their goal of isolating the Russian military leadership. "We are all prepared to die, all 25,000 of us, and then another 25,000, for the Russian people," he said. Russia witnessed an internet outage and tightened security measures on Friday, with a widespread deployment of military vehicles, especially in the streets of the capital. Prigozhin's accusations against Shoigu escalate the situation, particularly his allegation that the war was not started to rid Ukraine of Nazis, as Putin initially justified, but to gain personal gains. These accusations contradict the Kremlin's narrative regarding the war in Ukraine and pose a threat to the Russian government, especially in light of the military operations in Ukraine not progressing as Moscow had planned and no signs of achieving victory, despite nearly 16 months passing since the start of the war. Russian President Vladimir Putin has described the ongoing events in the southern part of the country as a backstab and betrayal that necessitate severe punishment. In a televised address to the nation and local Russian media on Saturday, Putin affirmed that all appropriate orders and instructions had been given to the leaders and soldiers in a timely manner. These remarks come after statements and decisions by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, a Russian mercenary organization. Prigozhin accused the Russian army leadership of carrying out missile attacks on his forces in Ukraine. Wagner claimed to have taken control of the city of Rostov-on-Don near the Ukrainian border, and later announced their capture of the city of Voronezh, which lies on the road between Rostov and the capital, Moscow. British intelligence agencies reported that Wagner soldiers were moving from Voronezh towards Moscow, and they had captured the city. Although Putin did not mention Prigozhin by name in his speech, he vowed to punish all those involved in the armed rebellion. He acknowledged the challenging security situation in Rostov-on-Don after Wagner's takeover. Prigozhin had strongly criticized the Russian army leadership on Friday, accusing them of launching a deadly missile attack on his forces in Ukraine. Following the Russian authorities' announcement of an investigation into Prigozhin, he pledged to continue his actions until the end and destroy anything that obstructs their path. He stated that his forces had entered Russian territory. In an audio message posted on the social media platform Telegram, Prigozhin declared that the evil carried by the Russian military leadership must be stopped. He asserted that those responsible for the deaths of Russian soldiers and the killing of their children in the war in Ukraine would be punished. He warned against resistance and threatened destruction for anyone who posed a threat to his forces, including checkpoints and flights along their path. Prigozhin clarified that their actions were not a military coup but a pursuit of justice, assuring that they did not pose a threat to Russian forces. The Russian Ministry of Defense issued a statement dismissing Prigozhin's reports on social media about Russian strikes on Wagner camps as false and provocative. In another audio message on Telegram, Prigozhin reaffirmed the readiness of all Wagner forces, numbering over 25,000 individuals, to die in order to achieve their objective of isolating the Russian military leadership. He emphasized their commitment to sacrifice for the Russian people. Russia experienced an internet outage and heightened security measures on Friday, with a significant presence of military vehicles, particularly in Moscow. Prigozhin's accusations against Shoigu, the Russian defense minister, further escalate the situation, particularly regarding the alleged motive behind the war in Ukraine. These accusations challenge the Kremlin's narrative and pose a significant threat to the Russian government, especially considering the lack of progress in military operations in Ukraine and the absence of signs of victory after nearly 16 months of conflict.